Hey, how's it going? So, they announced the Guilty Gear and ReZero collabs. We already know that. And they also announced that Landy is coming back. Something that we also know is that the Guilty Gear banner apparently is a custom banner, so I assume that means that you actually get to choose what unit is going to be summonable. So that actually makes it a lot simpler for people who are only looking for specific units, right? Rather than just having like one giant banner with all of them on it or something like that, or all separate banners. So this is what I want to talk about, is we have these two, we also have Landy. What do you want to pull? Because you probably can't get everything, especially since Summer Luluka just came out and Lethe, so you're probably a bit limited on resources. So I kind of want to talk about exactly what I would go for. So let me start with talking about the collab things. Soul Bad Guy is a free unit, and Ram is a free unit, so obviously that's pretty simple. I would recommend pulling for Amelia and Rem, I believe, as the #1 character. So Elfelt is not really used all that much overall. She was used in some Cleave stuff for a while, but not really anymore, and she's used for like a KD's one-shot team. That's kind of it. Dizzy was insanely strong a long time ago, and she's good for clearing earlier Abyss stages, like before stage 100. But other than that, she doesn't really have too much use. You don't really see her used that much in RTA, Arena, Guild War, PvE, nothing really. Baiken. Baiken is actually one of the best Banshee one-shotters. She is the quintessential best Banshee one-shotter. So a lot of people might think, oh, well, I feel like I have to get Baiken then, because I want a one-shot Banshee. Well, Ram is basically the second best Banshee one-shotter. And while Baiken is able to do it easier, I think Ram, she's a free unit. I think that's okay to go for. And so Baiken is nice to have, but not really a necessity, I would say. Now, let's get into the important units. Jacko, Rem, Amelia. Those are probably the very top 3 characters I would go for. Let's talk about this real quick. Jacko is a really strong, powerful cleave and aggro unit, often paired with debuffers such as Ran or Zio or Peyra. Really powerful. If you're newer to the game, you're not going to be able to use her for quite a long time. Although she is very fun and incredibly strong, but if you're really fresh to the game, you're not going to get a whole lot out of her, even though she is a very solid unit to have. So I would really recommend Rem or Amelia, and I think Amelia I would rank as #1 for a couple reasons. Let me talk about Rem first though. Rem is a pretty solid bruiser unit. You build her on like counter set, just a bunch of damage and tankiness, and she punishes really aggressive teams, but you don't really see her as much anymore. She used to be all over the place. She's sometimes seen a little bit in RTA versus specific teams, especially ones with Jacko right now, but that's about it. You don't really see her too often. Now the other nice thing about her is she is actually good for a Wyvern one-shot team. But you can make Wyvern one-shot teams with stuff such as Sigrid, etc. But she adds a lot of consistency to a Wyvern one-shot team, and I actually use that one in particular, and she's really good for that, but she's not like a character you have to have, really. Amelia is the character I would actually recommend as #1. Reason #1 is she's a pretty solid cleanser and just buffer for the team. Earlier on, especially, you'll be able to use her for most content. She'll be good for difficult PvE content for you. She's going to be good for PvP content for you. And the secondary option, or secondary reason why she's so good, is she has the artifact Ice Crystal. Ice Crystal is one of the best Soul Reaver artifacts in the entire game. I use it on at least 3 characters at the moment. It's insanely powerful, it's really good, and it only rolls around once per year. I would actually say her artifact is probably better than any of the collab characters, in all reality. So I would definitely recommend getting at least one of her artifacts, maybe using the powder shop when it rolls around to buy that if you're able to scrounge up enough. But I would pull in Amelia's banner, because not only is she the best one, but also you can get that artifact at the same time, so it's a 2 for 1. Rem's artifact is actually a pretty solid one as well. I would not rank it as high as Amelia's, but it's probably the second best. Then the third best I would probably say is maybe Elfelt's, which is Miss Confit, and then maybe somewhere tied sort of with Jacko's as well. Baiken, Dizzy, they don't really have amazing artifacts overall, so I wouldn't really worry too much about that. So all in all, basically what I would say, just kind of in conclusion of that, is Amelia is the best one, then Rem, then Jacko for the majority of people. But here's the catch. Landy was also shown off. And so Landy is coming on a banner, and she's a limited character. They're probably rerunning her because of ML Landy, but really ill-opportune time for them to run her right before the collab. And she's a really good unit. She's a really solid unit. I would actually say she's probably an overall better unit than most of the characters here. But my recommendation is I would actually skip her. There's a couple of reasons why. One, she's a limited character that rolls around multiple times per year. They usually run custom banners where you can choose what characters you want in it, and you can't choose collab units. So you could choose Landy on it, and you know that could happen later this year or early next year, etc. Right? It happens usually like 2 to 3 times at least per year, so it's more common, and it's also more efficient usually to pull on those banners. Second reason is Landy's best artifact is Guiding Light, and you probably don't have Guiding Light if you don't have Landy already. And you can get Guiding Light on a custom banner when you choose Cerise as the character. So you could choose Cerise and Landy and get both of them on that banner at the same time. Without Guiding Light, you can't really use her in PvP that well, and you would only be able to use her in PvE, and she's decent there, but not really like a must pull. So my recommendation is I would go for Amelia, Rem, Jacko, and then Landy probably. You could argue like, well, it's better to go for like Biken and then Elfeld and then Dizzy or something like that. But I mean, those characters aren't like super necessary. If you're like a huge Banshee fan, then I guess you could go for Biken over Landy. But that's kind of my recommendation with your limited amount of bookmark. The only final thing to consider, if you're really stingy with your bookmarks and you're just gonna skip the Guilty Gear 1 and go straight to ReZero, is maybe wait until the very end of the ReZero collab in case Smallgate goes absolutely nuts and they go crazy and they say Fullmetal Alchemist rerun is coming right after. I really hope they don't, but if they do, you absolutely need to pull Edward. You have to pull him if they announce that. He is like an absolutely crazy strong unit. And even Roy is a good unit, but he's not as important as Edward, not even the same like universe. So, in conclusion, final conclusion here, Amelia and her artifact, absolutely try to get both of those. That is the top priority. Then I would say Rem. Then I would say Jacko. And then, you know, secondary priority would be getting Rem's artifact, Jacko's artifact, Miss Confee from Elfeld, her artifact. And that's basically it. Now, I hope that this helped, just a little bit of breakdown of why I would go for the units, etc. And yeah, thanks a bunch for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you next time.